faster insights, better products, a hands-on discovery workshop. That's actually a practical taste for our upcoming cohort, Mastering Product Discovery, which is designed for product folks experienced in product discovery, but who already want to like level up their craft and maybe also like elevate their toolbox. Okay, but today we're gonna focus on some common challenges, and I'm providing you with some tips and tricks and hands-on advice what I usually do when I face one of those challenges. Before we go into the topic, just a brief intro, like who am I, who is talking to you? So I'm Janina. I'm a product director at Simpler QMS. I'm fairly new in the company, so I joined just in January, but I have experience of over 10 years in building digital products. I worked across different domains, MarTech, health tech, renewables, and also now I'm in the quality management and compliance space, so that's a new industry to add. And I have experience in B2B, B2C, and also other platforms. I have a passion for 0 to 1 product management and product discovery. I would really love to hear why you signed up today. So you can just drop a message in the chat. Maybe also what you want to take away from today. So let me know. And maybe if you have issues or challenges you want to discuss, we can pick it up later in the QA. So feel free to use the chat. Just ask any questions also in the chat. Okay, let's have a look into some of the very common product discovery challenges. So in the past, I have been working with product teams across startups and scale-ups, and I've been also doing a bit of consultancy in the past 1.5 years. And I've noticed that there are always like the same challenges popping up and again. And I've listed some of them here. So one is like getting stuck into analysis paralysis, like getting stuck in this over-researching phase. Knowing which tactic to choose and when is also a challenge. I get a lot of questions around engaging the entire team, turning insights into real product improvements, and also how to use AI for like a fast and speedy discovery. Okay, let's have a brief recap. Why do we do discovery again? So essentially, it's about raising confidence. We want to raise confidence in the things, like the things that we want to build make sense and we are building the right things, but we also want to decrease the risk on the business, right? So we do want to make sure what we are building is actually valuable and solving a user need and pain point. Having said that, the confidence level will never be at 100% and the risk level will never be at 0%. So sometimes we do have to take a risk and also ship it because we can only validate to a certain point, and some things just have to be shipped and then we have to iterate on them. But in essence, we're doing discovery to make a more confident choice that the things we are building are gonna have a return on investment. Having said that, for me, it's also a matter of balancing the cost of delivery and the cost of discovery, because discovery isn't really for free. So we do have some efforts in terms of time investment and also people working on discovery. And we also do have to consider opportunity costs. So the longer we stay into discovery, the later actually we get to ship our product, right? So that's an opportunity cost, if that makes sense. So we do have to find the balance. But if we look into the development cost, and here I've made an example of like 173K for like development cost of what it would take to ship a product versus the discovery cost of what it would take to investigate if this is a good idea. And I hope everyone can see that, yeah, you rather want to invest like close to like 8K to investigate if this makes sense in discovery than shipping a product for 173K that will never show the return on investment. So it's about, yeah, assessing if our investment is gonna pay off and we will see the return on investment. Yes. Now you know about like the cost of discovery and about balancing delivering discovery cost, which leads me to the first challenge I often see, and this is about getting stuck in over researching in product discovery. And really, hands down, who haven't experienced like doing discovery forever and maybe also not really bringing new insights to the table. I did. I think this is like a very, very common trap. The problem is here that we are actually increasing the cost for our company because, first of all, we're staying in this kind of research mode, but we are also having this opportunity cost of not shipping. So it's actually increasing cost and risk, which is a problem. And sometimes we do experience the symptoms of stakeholders are pushing back saying, oh my God, discovery takes so long, it's super expensive. That's a symptom that should show you, okay, we're not like getting enough insights and not fast enough. So that's actually a quite common symptom. So what is it like? What is the cause of it? So like two reasons what can happen and why this is happening is, first of all, we might actually lose the sight of the assumptions and hypotheses we want to validate. So it could be that we actually like if we think about it, it's like, I don't really know why we initiated this. So this could be one cause, that we actually lose sight of the purpose of discovery. Another cause could be the lack of strategic direction, which is more a leadership issue for me. But sometimes when there's no product strategy in place or no real business strategy in place, then we get stuck in so many opportunities and research. So this is more like a leadership issue, I would say. But what you can do as product manager and product person in the room, so I would always define assumptions, hypotheses up front, so you don't lose track of what is it that you're actually investigating. Pick the right tactics to validate. So key is about finding the tactic that brings you the insights fastest. So we want to optimize for time to insight. So choosing the tactic that is bringing you the insights the fastest. And sometimes it's a phone call, right? So really being cautious about what kind of tactics you're choosing. We will get to that point later. I also find it super helpful to time box discovery. So sometimes I do like, okay, we have this assumption, we have this topic, let's time box it for 2 weeks and see where we are and if we can make a decision on moving forward. This way you actually keep track of what you want to find out and keep focused and prioritize the most important assumptions to validate. Yeah. All right. So then I've already talked about it, knowing which tactic to choose and when. That's also, yeah, I would say a common challenge. And what we often see, or what I often see, is that our discovery efforts are not really bringing any results. So in the end, we're doing a lot of tests and experiments, but then we don't really know what's happening really under the surface, right? So if that is happening, this might be a symptom that you are using just the wrong tactic to validate something. And a cause of it could be that you might lack experience. So sometimes when you're an entry level or you have a like entry level team, you might lack experience and knowledge of what kind of tactics and methods are out there. So then that could be one cause. Another cause could be that we always have a fallback tactic or like a method we just love. For instance, A/B testing. I know this is like a super hype topic. If we always fall back to A/B testing, I promise you will not get far. It's not a tactic that you should be using for everything, at least. And the problem is that not choosing the right tactic will actually fuel an analysis paralysis again. So it's kind of a vicious cycle here. Okay, let's look into what you can do. There are so many validation tactics, experiments out there. I made an effort and like mapped some of them here. Some of them I have been using already. And I will go and pick some examples, but I think the key is also to stay open and explore some new tactics and learn some of them, and yeah, just have a look into some of the discovery books and say, okay, this could be a tactic I could try the next time. How you choose the right one is starting with like understanding, okay, am I in the problem space or am I in a solution space, right? So if I'm gonna do problem discovery, I might choose interviews or surveys, right? Because you want to explore the opportunities and you want to understand the user problems, right? And this might be actually better with like a user interview or tagging along a day with them to fully understand what is the journey they're going through and what are the problems they're facing. If we look into the solution space, there you have a lot more variety, I would say. And the tactic you're choosing here largely depends on how big is your customer base? Do you have a lot of customers or do you have many customers? So this is one factor where you can pick and choose. So let's take the A/B test again. I think this is a tactic for me that only works with a lot of like a large customer base. You need to have a lot of data to make it significant. And I would also say the risk level is fairly low. So in an A/B test, you would test concepts of a solution where you feel like, yeah, the solution is solving it. We just want to test different concepts around the same solution. Let's look into another tactic. Let's take the Wizard of Oz. I have been using that tactic, for instance, for an early stage startup. They didn't have any customers. And the risk was really high. So we didn't really know if the solution is solving the problem. So what we did here was building like the front end. It was landing page, and the customer could go in and order the service basically. So the front end was working, but then back end was not working. So actual real persons were performing the service. So this way we could validate are customers interested? Are they willing to pay for it? Is it like a big enough problem to solve? And we could also validate our assumptions of how we would solve it in like a very manual way. So these are just different tactics for different scenarios. I do also believe that you might consider time, cost, and maybe also effort to set up when choosing the right tactics. So again, time, some of those experiments, they can take up a lot of time. They might be fairly expensive to set up. So you might consider those aspects as well. And for me, again, it's key to focus on time to insight. So always choose the method that will deliver insights the fastest. Yes. Okay, then let's look into how to engage an entire team. that's a topic I get a lot of questions on, especially on how to engage engineering, how to engage the full product trial, how to engage sales and CS as well. Some symptoms you might have experienced is like revisiting decisions, like always going back and say, okay, why did we do this? Why did we agree on this? Knowledge silos. So if this is something you experience, this could be that you're not like super great in engaging the entire team. And some a cause of it could be that either the product manager or maybe like the combo product designer and manager are the sole leader of discovery. And then another cause could be that discovery is not really considered to be part of delivery. And I do know that this is maybe a bit controversial because I also know that there are frameworks out there suggesting that discovery should go ahead of delivery. This might be true for the problem space where you have to do in-depth research and analyze opportunities. But when it comes to the solution space and solution discovery, I disagree. I do believe it should be part of delivery as well. If you don't do that, it just creates an alignment gap and also a knowledge gap, and it might be the case that product manager, designer go ahead, figuring it out, testing it all, and then if engineers are only working on delivery, then we run into some other issues later on. Okay, I think we have some questions in the chat. Can you read it out, Adam? What is the question in the chat?
Yeah, so the first question is from Ines. So
it's actually not a question. It's more like a comment on the beginning, why I joined the session today.
Okay. I will have a look later and then come back to it. It's super hard for me to read the chat also. I'm only on one screen here. So all right. So let's go back into how to engage the entire team. What you can do if you experience like, okay, we are always going ahead in discovery, or like we always have like these kind of knowledge silos. I find it really helpful to start defining assumptions and hypotheses as a team together with the engineers and say, okay, what is it that we have to figure out? What is it that we have to validate, and who is doing that? And it also can be super, super helpful to choose the leader of the discovery according to the tactic you're choosing. So you're matching the tactic and the leader, essentially. So let's have an example. If we look into a usability test, then it might feel super natural to just pick the designer, and then the designer is leading this usability test. If we let's take the Wizard of Oz example again. So that's actually a service test. We're figuring out our service of the product in the back end. I could see engineering leading that experiment because it is essentially about validating, of course, if the demand is there and the customers do wanting to perform this task, but it's also about figuring out how the stuff should be built in the backend by manually performing the service. So I could see a big benefit of having engineers leading that in essence. So this is how I would pick and choose the leader of the discovery. And then I think another thing could be considered the discovery output as part of delivery. Every experiment, every test you are doing is a delivery, right? So you are like, this is what you are doing. This is your output of the work. So this could be easily considered as a delivery. I like to look at it as some discovery team competency. So I really want the full team to understand like, okay, what are our assumptions behind it and how can we validate them, and to create this full knowledge alignment across the whole team, that makes everyone moving faster towards the right solution. Yeah, so I'm just gonna check. Yeah, okay. So then looking into turning insights into real product improvements. That's a tricky one. I thought a lot about like those symptoms you might be feeling as a product manager, or even like as a product team. What I've been seeing is that when decisions are made on gut feeling, and also when teams are more reactive to feature requests. So if you're always just reacting to incoming feature requests from customers, from stakeholders, then you're not really on top of your data and your insights, right? So because you're always just reacting, you never really like reach the top where you can actually explore and dig deeper into what is actually behind all of those requests. And especially decision making on gut feeling indicates that there is either a lack of data or the data is not centralized, etc. Which also leads me to the causes. So the causes of those symptoms are that your data, so it could be a product analytics, but also your customer insights, they're just all over the place. They're all over the organization, and they're just scattered. So you don't really have the full picture as a product team. Another cause could actually be a lack of synthesis. So you might be sitting on this data, but you're not synthesizing it, or you're not communicating the insights well enough towards the team and the rest of the organization. And the problem is that we're not really closing the feedback loop to the customer. So by reacting always and making decision on gut feeling, you're like not seeing what's really below the surface. That's an issue. I know it's a bit tough to, this one is hard to solve because I think most of organizations, they have some kind of data issues, and it's not always centralized. So I know it's a tough one, I would say. But what you can do is starting to centralize the data. And you can, of course, I recommend, okay, invest into some proper product analytics, invest into some customer insights tooling. But you can also start small. You can centralize those insights in maybe a Notion document or into a table. You can gather like insights from sales and collect them and start centralizing them. So you build some kind of proof of concept also to vouch for the investment to get some proper analytics into place. So this is the first thing I would be doing. And then there is a lot also about filtering out noise, because in a lot of feedback, a lot of insights, there's always a lot that is also not relevant. So it makes sense to understand, okay, who's our ICP, who's the customer segment that is most important, most relevant for our business and our product, and what are those people saying, and everything around is just noise. So there can be a lot done in just filtering out the noise around. And then I would say start uncovering the why behind customer requests, behind behavior, and behind emotions. And for me, the key here, for instance, when I'm in a customer interview, is to pick up like certain reactions or emotions, and then ask into, okay, why is this person reacting like in a very positive way now? Why is this person excited right now? Because customers are not really great in articulating their problems. They will not, or most likely not, come and say, okay, I need this because I experience this pain and it's super hard for me to solve, they will always communicate the symptoms to you, if that makes sense. And then the job is to dig deeper and read between the lines and try to uncover the why behind, to spot the real improvements, right? Yeah. And then another thing for me is something around communicating the insights across your team and also across the organization. Really try to use every opportunity, every product demo you have, every show and tell, every scoping meeting to bring in the insights you gathered and just back your arguments up, back your decisions up and say, okay, these are the insights. This way you shape some user empathy and you can make your case real, like stronger, right? And you always focus on, okay, what was behind this discussion? And then you stay focused on what is really important and what are the product improvements that matter to our users and customers. Yeah. Okay. Let's come to the topic of the night. I don't know, maybe some of you might be waiting for this. Leveraging AI to speed up discovery. And I don't think it's much of a question of whether you should do it or not, but it's more a question of how and when you should be using it. Because there are so many tools out there and it's almost overwhelming. So it's about knowing for what task you can and maybe you want to use it, right? And what I've been doing, so I've been listing the task I use AI for, and I also gonna share some of my favorite tools I've been using. So what I do, for instance, where I get like a lot of AI help is when it comes to insight collection, so gathering, transcribing, summary, about like when it comes to analysis, creating insights, analyzing huge data set, right? Or doing research on a specific topic or market. And then I get a lot of AI help on the synthesis. I think like AI tools are really good for making sense of big data sets or clustering and mapping insights across user journeys. So this is something that is like super helpful for me. And then the last task would be prototyping and experiments. And what is part of my AI stack is I have, of course, a note taker for meetings. So I do, for instance, use Fellow, but I think there are like Otter and almost all meeting note takers are like equally good. But this really helps me to get the meeting recorded, get the transcript, and then put it into a customer insights tooling. And for that, I use Colab. I think they're doing a really good job of connecting all different data sources, and I actually use them also for the analysis part, research part, and synthesis part. I do also use ChatGPT. I think that's pretty standard, mainly for market research. I think there I get a lot of use out of it. And then I think the banger for me is Lovable. That's something I'm gonna use for prototyping and running experiments a lot. So, and here's a screenshot. And this is basically a dashboard, functional dashboard. I've been building for like a work context, and I've been building this in 10 minutes with like 5 prompts. And what is like, this is basically a game changer for me because it enables product managers to validate concepts extremely fast. So you can just type some of the prompts in and you get something visual out, and you can start showing it either to users or to internal stakeholders and get immediate feedback on. And I also do see, for instance, designers like being able to focus on more experimentation instead of being too focused on the UI itself. So I think this is gonna be, yeah, a big enabler for product work. All right, so we do have a Q&A, and I think now is maybe time for opening up to that. Yeah, thank you so much for listening in until now. So let's see who we have in the chat, or if you have any questions, I don't know, you can maybe also just talk if you like to.
Yeah, thank you very much, Janina. I'll kick off. First of all, that was awesome. Really good kind of practical breakdown of all of it. We've recorded this. We're going to send it to a bunch of folks that I know were really keen to join, but I found it really, really interesting. And I took some good kind of takeaways from some of the stuff that I'm doing as well. But one of my first questions, and I get asked this quite a lot, is how can PMs convince senior leaders to spend more time on this? So you spoke a little bit about the cost of it, some of the return of it, but what do you see are as some of the most compelling reasons to be able to convince senior folks to do a little bit more time on discovery?
Yeah, I think one of the issues, like when you experience like organizational pushback, then it's because things have been taking a long time to deliver insights, right? So it's mainly like, oh, discovery takes too much time and it's super expensive. So I feel like it helps a lot of either like comparing the cost or just saying, okay, can I prove you wrong? Can I get like 2 weeks? Can I get 1 week of making a point of like running a small experiment, like framing the discovery effort as an experiment sometimes can help to showcase what kind of value it can bring. So this is how I would approach it in some cases. In other cases, let's say if your organization is only talking in terms like about solutions and saying, yeah, but we do know what users want, and we do know we have done our work, right? Then I think the easiest way is to say, okay, fair enough, let's just facilitate a small user testing, for instance, where you actually validate a solution, but then you at least get the opportunity to maybe also ask some deeper questions and bring some new insights towards the surface. So I think it's about meeting stakeholders and meeting maybe also senior leaders where they are and addressing maybe their concerns. So if it's like a matter of cost or time, and okay, how can I make it cheap and fast? And if it's a matter of oh, we do know what we have to build and we have no need for discovery, then it's maybe meeting them where they are, which is often the solution. Yeah.
Awesome. I like that. Cool. Thank you.
Mhm.
How would you go about balancing sort of continuous discovery, which I kind of feel like often lands more in my space in like the solution discovery space rather than like discovery up front, which feels to me more like problem discovery?
Yeah. That's a good question. So I feel like it's way easier to do solution discovery like continuously because you might be working on a product that is already quite established. So then I think it's totally fair to just iterate on like the features in the product you have and do a solution discovery. What you can do is also using those moments in asking the right questions, right? So you could start, let's say, in a user testing when you have the customer or the user face to face in an interview. You can ask some questions that are outside that test, so you can open up the opportunity space a bit. Or what you can also do, if you, let's say, you see a behavior that you feel like, okay, this is like actually super odd. Why are users using this like that? So you can try to dig deep into this behavior and then ask, okay, hey, can you walk me through this process? How are you using this feature, or like what are you trying to solve? So to open up this problem space again. I mean, oftentimes we are actually in the solution discovery because not all of us are working on completely new products. Often it's about optimizing the existing one, and that is driving the best results. And not all of us are working on like product market expansion. So yeah, I hope this answers your question.
Yeah, it does. Thanks.
Great question, Sarah. Right, I think we've got time for about one more question. We did have one come through on Zoom, though, Janina.
Oh, okay.
Interest in what tools you're using for AI. Could you just repeat the ones you're using the most?
Yes, so I do use standard ChatGPT for researching market research. I do use a AI note taker. My personal preference is Fellow. That's my personal preference. Then I do use cycle.app. That's for customer insights collection and centralizing data and analyzing and synthesizing them. And I recently discovered Lovable for prototyping. Yes, I'm just gonna type it into the chat. So.
Awesome. And while you're doing that, there's another question that just came through that I'll read out. What would you do when discovery needs to be conducted in cases where your end users are internal business users, when we do not have much data at all, but need to go out, visit users on site, observe, interview, do workshops, and maybe do surveys? You basically rely on voice recordings, videos, and workshop notes.
Yeah.
When is a survey pointless at this point versus helpful, for example? Yeah, what are your thoughts on this one?
Okay, I'm just gonna read the question myself to make sure I understand it. Yes. So it depends it depends, right? I feel a survey is useful when you have a big customer base. My assumption would be that you won't get a lot of answers on this internal survey. So you might be disappointed to see the results. So that's one thing. And I would use a survey when I need to confirm maybe my research, when I need to back it up, right? So if I'm already quite sure about, okay, this is a problem for those users, and I just want to confirm maybe the level of pain, how painful it is, or one aspect of the problem, then I would use the survey. But if you are working with internal stakeholders and these are the users, I would actually do face-to-face interviews and do observation. I think this will give you more insights because you're gonna understand the workflow, the processes they are going through, and this will give you more insights than a survey. That's my initial
follow-up comment, maybe.
Yeah.
Why I mentioned this is that in a case where you have a global company, then it's not always possible, right, to visit every market and everyone, and then it's kind of okay. Where do I lose information? Where is it still helpful to get like inputs from other markets that you can't do face to face?
Yeah, you're right. I think it's about the balance. I probably would try to get at least 1 or 2 face-to-face interviews, even though it's hard. And then you might want to back those findings up with a survey. But yeah, it's a balance. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. We're actually right on time, so we're gonna have to wrap up. But Janina is available in our Slack channel. And also, how else can folks reach out to you, Janina, if they've got any other questions?
Yeah. And maybe this is like a nice transition. So we are actually having an upcoming cohort in April, starting in April, that is mastering product discovery. You can set up now if you like what you saw, and those are the topics we are going to focus on, but we will have more time to really go into depth and also focus on more like hands-on exercises, so we have more time for each module as well. So this was more, a very condensed version of it, I would say. Cool. Then thank you everyone for joining.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Janina. And again, folks, sorry about the technical difficulties. We'll be sending out a recording to all of you, but really appreciate your time and insight as always, Janina. I always learn a lot, and based on the questions, I know folks get a lot of value from it as well. So with that, enjoy your evening. Reach out to myself or Janina if you have any questions or want to talk about Colab. And yeah, look forward to seeing you soon in one of our events. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you. Bye.
Bye.